Continue. Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 28. Yesham tva antagatam papam jnanam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dhrit vrataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So Krishna is saying, what kind of persons engage in Krishna's service? So those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. So, if we don't even want to accept that God exists, if we want to continue thinking I'm God, if we want to pretend, that I'm the controller, if we don't want to really understand the truth, then we will not be able to understand the message of Bhagavad Gita, because we don't want to. If we think, I want to continue living in the material world and I want to continue to pretend to be God, then Krishna gives us that facility, because Krishna is always fulfilling our desire, whatever is our desire. So if my desire is to continue living in the material world and pretend that I'm God, I'm great, I'm this or I'm that, then he gives me the facility. So only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously and who have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when somebody is sincere, then they want to understand the absolute truth. Then they will follow, let me do what is needed to be done. Let me not do the sinful activities. The Vedas, they tell us, don't engage in meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. And then the do's, what I have to do? I have to hear and chant. So this is what means acted piously. Acted piously means not mundane piety, not the mundane dhan punya which we do, mundane. Those are all material. But this is when we are doing Krishna conscious activities. Krishna conscious activities. Then, after we have collected heaps of this, transcend spiritual piety, then what happens? Then we are able to accept devotional service. Then gradually we get this pure knowledge of, what's happening? Who is the absolute truth? What is my position? Then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness, in the association of pure devotees. For in the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. So if someone says, I'm going to give you one pill and you can have that pill and you will get liberated, it's all nonsense. It's not like that. It is a gradual process. It begins with the association of the devotee. When we meet the devotees, when somehow or the other we come in contact with the devotees, then our sukriti begins. Our sukriti begins, and when we do more and more of this sukriti, then we are able to actually engage in devotional service. Then we can get this pure knowledge. Then we can transcend this material world. So it all begins by, and so that's the reason we should if we have gotten the seed of devotional service, we should try to give this seed to others. Somehow or the other, give Krishna to others so they can also begin their journey back home, back to Godhead. Not only keep it with ourselves. The more we give Krishna, the more we can revive our love of Krishna. Whatever knowledge we get, how much ever little we have, if we share it with others, then our knowledge will grow, it will expand. If we don't share it with others, we'll forget the knowledge. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 2, that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Tamodvaram yoshitam sangi sangam. So we have a choice. We have a choice. Do we want to continue to remain in the material world, or do we want to progress towards the spiritual world? We want to go back home, back to Godhead. We want to be situated in the truth. We want to be situated in our original position as spirit souls. You know, it's not that as a spirit soul we have no form or it's just some spark of light. No, each of us has a spiritual form. We have a spiritual name. We have spiritual activities. Right now, we have completely forgotten that. We completely forgotten our spiritual identity. Why? Because of this dark covering of ignorance. So if we want to be liberated, what do? We engage in the service of the pure devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. So it's the devotees who tell us about God. It's the devotees who can bring us out of this material world. They have traversed this path. Also, it is said, Mahajano yena gata sapantha. The devotees, they carry the Lord in their heart. And if we follow their footsteps, not imitate them, but follow their instructions, then we can get out of this material world. The Mahajan in Bhagavatam are mentioned as Brahma, Narad, Lord Shiva, Bhishma Dev, Janak Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, then Sukadev Goswami, Yamaraj, and the four Kumaras, Manu, and Lord Kapila Dev. These 12 Mahajans are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. We also have our modern day Mahajans. We have the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. We have Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We have Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We have Srila Prabhupada. We are reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So he is a Mahajan. And by following his teachings, we can get out of this material world. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in his transcendental loving service with determination. So if we continue thinking that I'm God, there is no God, you are God, everyone is God, we will never be able to understand the truth. We will never be able to understand our own self, who we truly are, self-realization. But when we hear from the Mahajan, when we hear from the pure devotees, great service is done. If somehow or the other we are able to perform, to serve the pure devotees, even a little bit, then great service is done. We get a taste to hear the message of Vasudev. And then Lord Vasudev, who's in our heart, he cleans our heart of all the material desires. So then who is a pure devotee? You know, nowadays we see on the internet, everyone wants to speak about Bhagavad Gita. There are more and more people. And when you hear them, you wonder, then you say, oh, but this is not Bhagavad Gita. This is their own Gita. They're just borrowing the name of Bhagavad Gita. So we have to be careful who we are hearing from. We have to understand who is a pure devotee. We have to understand, just as when we want to get some material knowledge, we want to go become a doctor, we go to a good university. We do a lot of research, which university is good, which has gotten the highest, affiliations. So we do a lot of research work, and then we enter that university. Similarly, we should do the research work, find out who is the pure devotee. Is this devotee coming from, is this person in the parampara system? Is he coming from the disciplic succession, which begins from Krishna? Is he speaking about God? Does he know God? Can he bring me out of this material world to God? Can he introduce me to God? These are the things we need to check. And then we need to hear from such pure devotee. So as we are hearing now from Srila Prabhupada. So this is the correct way. It's the correct way. And we continue hearing and chanting. Gradually, we can revive our love of God. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is there any difficulty that we could there be any difficulty to do of what we just discussed? Could there be any impediment?
Just like, we as humans, we just tend to forget all these things.
Yes, that's true. It's true, we do,
Everybody knows what's right, what's wrong. But, when you come, as you say, now that Maya is covering it up so much that after a certain point, you just forget about it also.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And so then Krishna says we have to practice. So the mind will go somewhere else. Then we have to practice bringing it back to Krishna. Then the mind will again run somewhere else. Again, we have to practice to bring it back to Krishna. Yeah. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we have to practice. It won't be automatic for us because we are too much in Maya. So we have to practice this. To gain any skill also we are practicing. Even cooking. The more we practice, the better we get at it, right? So this also we have to practice. So, yeah. The more we practice to bring the mind back to Krishna, then the easier it will get. We continue to hear and chant. Continue with that. Is that okay?
All good.
So at least, you're getting up in the morning, you're chanting, you're hearing. So then that gives you a reminder at least. So that's a very great beginning, isn't it?
Well, Mercy, the body clock is set. Like, though I don't sleep much in the night, but like in the morning, my eyes will open. It's like that body clock is set right now by His mercy.
So that's great. That's great because, if you can see that, a few years ago it was not happening, but now you're doing it. So you're progressing,
Yeah. Like, His mercy is there for me to wake up in the morning and sit down to do my chanting.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes. So and then we just, keep continuing. We encourage each other like that. Continue hearing and chanting. Yeah, continue to practice. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your participation. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.